man from Ohio U who knows the Bennett family well.
Still looking for our first points here. Ball tipped away by Kihei Clark. Here is the McDonald's All-American, Keontae George.
How about the smallest player on the floor, Kihei Clark, starting out on George.
Good D by Virginia. You're going to see that all game, and a nice shot goes for L.J. Cryer over the arm of Shedrick.
Good to see L.J. healthy. He did not play very much in February and last March. Big reason why Baylor fell short against North Carolina in the NCAA tournament. Whoa!
Cross-court pass going up to get that one is Beekman.
We talk about the Virginia defense, but Baylor's defense in recent years, especially man-to-man, exemplary.
The offense is going through Garter, misses his second shot. This is a big step up in competition for all these teams, but especially for Virginia. The length and the speed defensively for Baylor is going to be tough.
Yes, it is, and this guy's tough too. Keontae George, you mentioned him. One thing about George, John, it's really impressed me early. He plays with a high motor for a guy who's such a great scorer. Good D, they keep that ball on the sideline.
Virginia with 10 on the shot clock. This is Beekman trying to go to work. Cross-court pass tipped away. It's going to stay here with Virginia. 8 on the shot clock. Scott Drew, in his 20th season at Baylor, 20 seasons, what he has done with this program is incredible.
Well, it's the greatest for building job in NCAA history. Think about it. Bill Self, Scott Drew, both came in 20 seasons ago and both have national championships and made the Big 12 the best league in the country.
Franklin with the layup, first bucket on the board for Virginia.
Transfer from Indiana, Armaan Franklin, very consistent early in his final year here for Tony Bennett.
You know, one thing Virginia fans are going to look out for with Jaden Garner and Armaan Franklin, their second year in the program after transferring, it takes a while to learn this Virginia defense.
Well, not only that, John, but if you think about all the transfers they've had, they've really done well in that regard, and both of those guys are going to make a big impact again this year. And neither player needs to score the way they had to a year ago because of that depth you talked about.
So Keontae George. Looks like he's going to have to check out. So Baylor inbounds, 12 on the shot clock for the Bears. Curling, Cryer nails a three. L.J. Cryer hasn't shot it nearly as well, but that is now his 16th straight game with a three-pointer.
John, you're exactly right. He's in a little bit of a slump for him. He is one of the best shooters in the country. He will definitely get it going before long.
Shedrick with a deep two, nailing it. If Virginia can get that kind of production out of their 6'11" junior, it's going to be a good season for the Cavaliers.
He's got to do that all night, and he's got to do it all season because he is improving. I think Baylor was happy to give him that shot, but he may make him pay. Virginia will hedge hard on ball screens.
Bonner trying to go to work, 7 on the shot clock for Baylor. Flagler looking up at it, driving baseline, and he tipped out of bounds. 3 on the shot clock. A media timeout on the floor here in Las Vegas. Coming up, we will tell you how the Virginia basketball team is coping with a tragedy. Well, this past Sunday, 3 football players for Virginia, Lavelle Davis Jr., Devin Chandler, and Deshaun Perry, were tragically taken from this world too soon, allegedly by a former football player. The shooting death Sunday night sending shockwaves across the nation. Now, for the Virginia basketball team, they canceled their game on Monday. This is their first time getting back on the court since the tragedy. Virginia head coach Tony Bennett says it's healing for his guys to be back on the floor playing, but their thoughts are still with the football team.
I want Coach Elliott and all those players and most importantly those families to know that, you know, we love them and certainly we're praying for them. And this doesn't make sense. This isn't the way it's supposed to be. But what I do know about Devin, Deshaun, and Lavelle is they had a hope beyond this world. They're young men of a strong faith, and I believe truly they're rejoicing right now, and the pain is left for those closest to it. But it's been a lot. A lot of our players have been close to those guys, and we just try to celebrate their life. It gives perspective, and we're grateful to play, but it leaves you pretty numb.
I talked to Tony Bennett and told him I wanted to see how they were doing. Thoughts and prayers with them. Actually, our players all wrote their team notes. Obviously, their mind's going to be on something different, and they got a lot of people praying for them.
And Adam Flagler, one of the guys on Baylor who actually wrote a handwritten letter that was then sent to the Virginia players. I asked him, what'd you write in that letter? He said, I told them, you're not alone. Yes, we compete on the court, but at the end of the day, we are part of a college basketball family. And even though we're here at Baylor, we're with you guys at Virginia.
Yeah, no question, John. And from a coach's standpoint, long shot right there. There's no, you're never prepared to be able to deal with something like that. And Coach Elliott and his staff and all the Virginia basketball and athletic community, all the people in Charlottesville are, they have heavy hearts, but there's a lot of people praying for them.
Franklin driving baseline with the kick out to Kihei Clark. 7 on the shot clock. Vanderplas newly inserted into the game. Beekman's got to get it up. 2 on the clock. His shot is short. Baylor coming away with it.
Excellent defense by Baylor. One more postscript. The coaches, the former coaches at Virginia who've moved on to other places, this weekend they will wear Virginia gear during their football games, which I think is very, very cool and appropriate.
Flagler knocks
money.
down a 3 for Baylor. As a former coach,
yes,
Fran, there's no playbook on something like this, a tragedy like this. How do you go about handling this for your athletes, for your student athletes?
You always explain to your players that you're in the playground of life, and sometimes life interferes with that playground. And if you have strong faith, if you have community, you have people with you, you have to get yourself through it. But we're all going to deal with these kind of tragedies throughout our lives. You just don't see it happen to young people who really are in the prime of their life. The greatest moment a family could have is when a young man signs a letter of intent to go to a school like Virginia, be a student athlete, and make a difference in their life. And these kids are not going to be able to do it. We're praying for their families.
I thought that was a big deal, having the Baylor players write personal letters. I talked to LJ Cryer. He said, I've never written a letter and sent it in the mail in my entire life. Well, that was the first time he's ever done that, and he did that because he was so moved by what these Virginia players are going through as Kihei Clark gets 2 to go.
Well, you just remember, the Baylor University family is built around faith. Scott Drew, he wears it well. Joy, Jesus, others, yourself. It's been a big mantra for them. So faith will get these families through it, but it's not easy by any stretch.
Coach Bennett said he would wish he could be with the Virginia family. They're going to have a memorial service in Charlottesville tomorrow. But he said coming back on the court is part of the healing process.
That's another
deep shot for Cryer. And a good defensive possession for Virginia.
Good start for Virginia, really. Solid defense both ways. We expected that. When we watched practice today, it was clear, John, because both of these teams are obviously defensive oriented, really locked in on scouting reports.
You hear that? Chance of UVA here in T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. Virginia fans have made the trip here to Las Vegas, cheering on their basketball team. First time on the court since the tragedy after the game was canceled on Monday.
And here's the depth that we talked about with McNeely, the freshman. Nice drive.
Clark with the penetration, but it's Caleb Lawner, the BYU transfer, with the steal for Baylor. All tied up at 8 apiece. Tough turnaround jumper, but Adam Flagler, he makes that look easy.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Kihei Clark has long been one of the better defenders in the ACC, but Flagler, great step back, good footwork.
We played 7 minutes here in Vegas. Baylor with a 2-point lead. Francisco Cafaro, the big man from Argentina. His layup no good. Cafaro on the offensive board, throwing it up and puts it back.
That young man is 7'1". He's gotten better and better. I saw him play 2 years ago in Tokyo as a member of the Argentine Olympic team. Just a really good role player with good size, and he matches up well with the physical Flo Thamba. Oh, nice.
Look at George splitting the defense. Floater, no good. Rebound at the rim. Loner will be fouled and go to the line for 2.
John, watch Kihei Clark. He's a really good defender, but watch Adam Flagler create separation right now. Step back, tough shot, good defense. You tip your hat to him. But Adam Flagler is a guy that had one Division I scholarship offer coming out of Duluth, Georgia to Presbyterian. And then he obviously had a great year, Big South Freshman of the Year. Remember transferring to Baylor, playing against guys like Davion Mitchell, Maceo Teague, Jared Butler. I said, could you score against them? I thought he was going to say no, but he said, oh yeah, I could.
But to your point in the open, right? All 4 teams are undefeated. No one's really been tested yet. And when I talked to Scott Drew, he said for Baylor, we want to see how we execute, especially in late game situations. Virginia, their experience. We've got another team driving baseline. Good block there by Bonner. Here come the Bears on the breakout. Keontae George, the highest recruit ever to come to Baylor.
He has really got off to a great start.
The freshman the other way, Isaac McNeely out of Poca, West Virginia, off the mark. Both teams trying to find the touch early on. We're all tied up at 10 apiece. Flagler trying to break down his man. Straightaway 3, too short. Gardner with a good box out. Rebound goes to Virginia. This is the Continental Tire main event from Las Vegas. We are all tied up at 10 apiece. A good matchup in the first game. Come on back. The next week, 12 days, over 120 games, 240 plus hours. When I'm not in the gym watching games, I'll be on my couch watching some more.
No question. And this is the time where you need to find out what your team's strengths and your weaknesses are. All 4 of these teams will be near or at the top of their respective conferences. And like other teams in the Big Ten, ACC, Pac-12, and Big 12, you need to know what the questions are and what's been answered.
Now, the reality is somebody's going to walk away from Vegas 0-2, one of these 4 teams. But because it's all quality teams, these losses do not hurt you come March.
No, they're great Ken Pom numbers, and absolutely. Key early in the year is find out where your team is and how to improve.
Gardner with the contact. He'll be fouled, and he'll go to the free throw line to shoot 2. Foul called on Langston Love.
Yeah, this is a guy, John, that averaged 15 a game last year after transferring from ECU. Has gotten off to a slow start, but part of that reason is because they have more answers offensively this year than they did a year ago when they went to the NIT.
Sunday, we have the men's basketball game of the day. It's the first ever meeting between number 4 Kentucky and number 2 Gonzaga, who agreed to a 6-year series back in August. Last season's National Player of the Year, Oscar Tshiebwe, will be back, should be back for this one to lead the Wildcats against Drew Timme and the Bulldogs. This one goes down in Spokane. Coverage began 30 Pacific on ESPN and the app.
I know one thing, Gonzaga has got to clean up their guard play. They were not very good against Texas. I think they're going to play great Sunday night. That game's in Spokane Arena, but their guard play was not up to snuff against Texas.
Shot by George. Still looking for his first bucket. Rebound tracked down by Launer. Bonner from straight away. Ooh. We've seen some cold shooting to start. I mean, I know the weather is cold here in Las Vegas. We needed to warm up a little bit inside.
Yeah, they're not on an aircraft carrier tonight, you know. And Tom Izzo said we're going to take the wind in the second half.
Baylor is 2 for 11 from deep to start this game.
I'd say Virginia's defense has a little bit to do with that. How about our guy Ryan Dunn in the game right now for Virginia? Freshman who had an outstanding game just recently.
There's Dunn. Ball pass. Tries to get inside, and Gardner will be fouled. You talked about the line for Ryan Dunn. In their last win against Monmouth, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 assists, 2 steals. I mean, this freshman is the best athlete on this team.
Well, he did not play in the first game. There was some talk that he might redshirt. My good buddy Bob Rathburn, who covers the ACC and did his game last Friday night, he's the voice of the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks played Saturday in Philly. He saw DeAndre Hunter, former Virginia star, and he said, "I saw you last night." DeAndre said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "This kid Ryan Dunn plays just like you." And DeAndre said, "A lot of people have told me that." Pretty good comparison, right?
There is a model here. And if you can stick to the plan under Tony Bennett, he has a history of producing NBA caliber players.
Well, both of these teams, John, are built around player development. You go back to the Scott Drew era, both of these teams have great coaching staffs, put a lot of work in individual play, and it's evident.
We played 10 minutes here in Las Vegas, Virginia, with a 3-point lead. Cryer is bumped on the outside by Cafaro.
Virginia's big guys play. They hedge hard in pick and roll. What does that mean? They step out and they try to redirect the ball. And that time Cafaro a little extra contact, but they make it very uncomfortable in pick and roll. They always have.
Baylor, tough shooting to start this game. What do they have to do to get better looks, easier shots?
I think they have to keep moving the ball and get into the paint just like that.
Floater doesn't go, tipped up and in. I don't know who they credit to.
I think that was Flo. I think Flo got that basket.
So Thamba with the bucket, tipping up at the rim. Baylor trails by 1.
You notice how many of those 40-footers they had to take at the end of the shot clock? That's not what Scott Drew wants. Move the ball side to side, attack the defense.
Inside extra pass to Shedrick, and 1. What a dump off by Jaden Gardner.
I'll tell you why they got that. Flo Thamba committed an early foul, and on this drive, watch him play passively right now. He does not want to pick up the second foul, so he basically was a conscientious objector, and great post-to-post passing by Gardner to Shedrick. And actually a smart play by Thamba, who Scott Drew needs in the game over 40 minutes without foul trouble.
Flagler running the show for Baylor, trying to break down this Virginia defense. It's not a pack line defense this year. They've adjusted it slightly.
They have. They're pushing more to the sideline. But Baylor, a pick and roll team, is
bothered by a hand in his face. He knocks down a 3, ties the ball game at 15.
That time Shedrick was late to getting out to that handoff, and Flagler had more room.
Low scoring game. You got to think this favors the pace of Virginia right now.
Well, I think Baylor's played in a lot of these kind of games, and they both play good defense.
Jalen Bridges, the West Virginia transfer, they feel like he's really going to fit in with that rebound. Here he is, pick and pop.
Good defense by Cafaro.
Love, he'll launch a 3. And on the rebound, they're going to tack that one on Gardner. That was good hustle with Thamba, trying to get to that offensive rebound.
What's bothered Baylor most right now is the aggressiveness of Virginia's big men on those pick and rolls. And we saw that Gardner got out quickly. His man popped, and Cafaro helped Gardner. Good teamwork. Uh-oh.
Off the inbound, here's Cryer rattling in a 3.
This guy only scored 3,500 points in high school, the 5th most in Texas history. When he gets cooking, he will be one of the best shooters in college basketball.
Cryer, his second 3 of the ball game, starting to get hot for Baylor. Tipped away. Here come the Bears. They've got numbers 3 on 2, and the other way. Here comes Reese Beekman.
Great steal by Beekman.
Beekman with the dish off. Layup no good. Tipped at the rim. Gardner trying to keep it alive, and it batted out of bounds by Flagler. It'll stay here with the Cavaliers. End-to-end action. Baylor with a 3-point lead, under 8 minutes to play here in this first half. Come on back to Las Vegas. It's a good one. Baylor with a 3-point lead. John Schripp and Fran Fraschilla. All right, Fran, before we went to break, you talked about Virginia's defense, their big men hedging hard. Describe, what is an X out?
All right, let's see this now. Watch Watch Gardner hedge hard to slow down the pick and roll. Here comes Shedrick that gets Gardner's man. So he's now guarding the popper, and they force a tough shot, but it's all because of the coordination between the two big guys. Virginia is one of those teams in college basketball that is very aggressive with their bigs in pick and roll. And the chess game tonight, John, is what does Baylor do most of the time on offense with great guard play? They run pick and roll. So we'll have to see who wins that battle.
If you're Baylor, where now is the soft spot on defense if you have the big guy hedging?
It's a great question. Get rid of the ball, make a second pass, maybe to a third pass to the other side, and break the defense down from the second side of the floor.
Okay. See, when I got a coach sitting with me at the table, I'm going to pick your brain, man.
I've been doing this a little bit for a while. Yep.
I'm with a legend right here.
Not a legend, but it's fun to watch a lot of college basketball, trust me. And you know both teams so well because both teams are so, I mean, these are two teams, these are two coaches you study if you're a young coach. And figure out what they're doing offensively and defensively. Nice play.
Good inbound play as Shedrick finishes it off for Virginia.
Well, what they did, they caught the freshman, Oji Owuna, right there. Kind of watching the paint dry.
You know, Shedrick had some dominant games last season. Let's see if he could be consistent and have a real breakout this year. Tough shot, followed up at the rim. Josh Ojanwuna.
Josh is going to be a great player. Remember, they are playing without Jonathan Tchamwa, who hurt his knee a year ago in February. We watched him work out today. He's likely not to play this season. But big fella, Josh. Ooh,
Vanderplas.
There you go.
Rim rock. Nice dish by Kihei Clark.
First time we've mentioned since the beginning of the game, Ben Vanderplas. His first name is Bennett. He was named after Dick Bennett because his dad was a teammate of Tony Bennett at Green Bay.
Three rattles in for LJ Cryer. That's because Beekman was a little too aggressive defensively, and Baylor making him play. Cryer, that is his third three of the game.
Remember, he started the season 1 for 10 from three. Very uncharacteristic. John, you notice Shedrick's not shooting that jumper at the foul line. Second time he was open.
Beekman locked down right now by Cryer. Can't do anything. Give it off to Shedrick.
There it is.
He said, Franny, take that.
Take that. He made the first one. He passed up on the next two. That time he was so open he had to shoot it. But to your point earlier, he had a phenomenal year off the bench last year and continues to get better. He is an elite shot blocker as well.
Hanging, nailing it. Tough shot by LJ Cryer. We said he hasn't been shooting it well, but he is starting to heat up here in Vegas.
Well, he's a lifetime scorer. He scores in his sleep. And a small sample size to start the year. And Clark played good defense, too.
Shedrick on the pick and roll, the floater, offensive foul. Keontae George takes the charge.
What I love about Keontae George is he is an elite scorer. We haven't seen much of it yet, but his passing, his hustle, his rebounding is elite for a guy so heavily recruited. That is an easy call. He is set before the offensive player leaves his feet. But his hustle and all the other things he does besides scoring really has been taken notice by the coaching staff.
Keontae George, the number 3 recruit, according to ESPN, coming out of high school. We know he can score, but he's doing so many other of the little things. He has just bought into this Baylor program early on.
There's that hard hedge again. Oh!
Missed the big man underneath.
Yep. And what George tried to do is find Thamba, who wasn't ready. He's telling him right now. It was a great defensive possession by Virginia to hedge that screen.
Keontae George, I apologize, ranked 6th overall by ESPN.
John, this team, yeah, they represented the United States this summer at a tournament in Canada. They were the U.S. team. Keontae George went off against really good older players.
Vanderplas, nice. Good head fake, finds Shedrick, trying it. Whoa! Ripped away by Flagler.
Good defense by Vanderplas, slowed down the break.
Under 5 minutes to play here in this first half. Cryer trying to go to work. A lot of contact. Here comes Clark on the breakout. Spin move, lost his man, but closed it at the rim.
Little magic right there, sleight of hand.
That woke up this crowd here at T-Mobile.
Well, as good as Baylor is offensively, you don't expect them to be a juggernaut against a Tony Bennett defense. So far, they've been really solid.
Shot clock's at 5 for Baylor. Thamba with the handoff. George rising up, nails the 3. That's why the scouts love Keontae George. He is so good. Baylor started 2 of 11 from downtown. Since they are 4 for 5. The Bears have opened up a 7-point lead under 4 minutes to play here in this first half. Clark, pump fake. Extra pass to Vanderplas, wide open, and he nails the 3.
He gives you a different look from that 4 spot for Tony Bennett. He has fit right in since arriving from Ohio University, where he was an outstanding player in Athens, Ohio.
Tipped away. Here comes Armaan Franklin. Spin move. Finishes. Virginia turning defense into offense, and they trail by 2. And Scott Drew will call a timeout for Baylor with a 2-point lead.
How about this? First, Vanderplas knocking it down, and the steal, the defense, little spin around. Armaan Franklin. Cavs back in it. Hey, Kevin, we know Spatola guarded nobody at Army, but Steve Wojciechowski has to love this. I'm almost slapping the floor out here, John.
I'm going to need Wojciechowski to at least slap the desk before the night is over, because they're playing some defense out here in Vegas.
But you know, Chris Spatola, all he did at Army was shoot. I mean, they had to ice his arm after games.
I'm not mad at that.
You like that, don't you?
I like it.
That's how you play at the Y.
I like a good shooter.
That's how you play. That's the word. Tony Bennett does not like your game. Oh yeah.
Rejected by Shedrick. Virginia cranking it up defensively.
Now Ben Vanderplas is an excellent passer, so they can use him in that high post. He's also capable of shooting the 3 balls we've already seen.
Clark directing traffic from the point guard.
Oh, McNeely's open.
He had him. He's still open on the wing.
Yeah, Bonner fell down. They didn't see him.
Clark, hesitation dribble. 5 on the shot clock. Fall away jumper short. Shedrick bats it out of bounds. Baylor ball. You know, another thing interesting that's going to come out of this weekend, when you step up in competition, we're going to notice from all 4 teams the rotation is going to start to get a little smaller. They're going to figure out who their go-to guys are in the lineup.
That's why you play this type of competition. You know, those early games give you confidence when you beat a Monmouth or Norfolk State. Nice pass. That's goaltending.
That is goaltending as Shedrick hit that one. It was still on the rim.
Yep. Good roll. Flo Thamba, the 5th-year guy, been part of a national championship, has really improved. Watch him roll out of the screen. And a good job at the rim. Shedrick can't do that. He knows that.
Flo Thamba is the last remaining starter from that 2021 title team. Last season, he had some monster games down the stretch with guys getting injured. That had to have given him confidence now here into his final
Well,
season.
they needed him. You know, JTT, Everyday John, was out. And he definitely stepped up, and it was great to get him back as a 50-year guy.
Oh, Franklin pump faking at the rim, finishes.
See, I'm just telling you, John, that early foul by Flo, he wants to stay in this game and not pick up the second. But to start the second half, he's going to have to be more aggressive defending the rim.
Big 3 goes for Keontae George.
I'm just telling you, this kid's going to be as good a scorer as you'll see among the freshmen in this country. More exciting for me are the other things that he's already doing, but he's going to do that a lot this season. He is a streak, quick, 10-point in a short period of time scorer.
Clark, a lot of dribbling, and he's going to be fouled by Dale Bonner.
Let's watch right now. Watch Armaan Franklin, the Indiana transfer. See how he goes to the rim and flows a little bit passive. And watch this. This is a born scorer right there. Quick release, catches it. He catches it at his chest, which means there's no dip, which means he gets it off quickly. Louisville, Texas product, right smack in the heart of Dallas.
Under 10 on the shot clock for the Cavaliers. Good defense.
Yep.
Yeah, that was George. Not going anywhere, and they're going to call a foul underneath.
And that is number 7. So
They're going to call that one on Jalen Bridges. That is his second personal, the team's 7th.
John, before he transferred to Virginia, Ben Vanderplas had only talked to Tony Bennett twice in his life. I told you the first time at a camp, right? And when was the second time? During the NCAA tournament, when Ohio U knocked off Virginia. And how many did he score?
He went to town that game. He had 17 points in that win over Virginia. He's a smart guy. This is his 6th year. He's another one of these guys who's taken advantage of this COVID year.
Yep.
He has his undergrad degree, and he also has 2 masters.
He's going to be teaching at Virginia before you know it.
Under a minute to play. Baylor with a 4-point lead. George.
Good help. That's the help.
Tipped away by Vanderplas. Here's Franklin going 1-on-2. And it'll stay here with Virginia.
John, that's the hard hedge we talked about. I think it was Vanderplas who got out there on that pick and roll, but take a look. Watch how aggressive those big guys are in pick and roll, and he pokes it loose. They're going to go take a look at the monitor. What you have to do in that situation is use your backup dribble, bring 2 defenders with you, and get your teammates to play 4 versus 3.
So our officials are going to take a look at this one. Ray Natilli, Bert Smith, Greg Nixon, our referees for this first game here in Las Vegas tonight. So they're going to go all the way back to when Baylor was on offense.
Got it. Here we go.
To see, was Vanderplas hit in the face?
No.
Oh, no, excuse me. Was George hit in the face?
Well, it's inadvertent either way. You can't go back and call a common foul per review. But I don't see anything there that was that rose to the level of a flagrant foul.
All right, here's another look at it, Fran.
If that's what they're looking at, they're wasting their time.
So that is exactly what they're looking at. But you can tell Vanderplas hit the ball into the face of George.
That's all.
But early on, you called it out. That hard hedge by the big man is causing all kinds of problems for Baylor on offense.
And that is part of Tony Bennett's defensive scheme. The other one that we don't see tonight is the quick double team of the post. Why? Because Baylor does not throw it into the post very often. Okay.
Wow, wait, okay, so we have a flagrant one on Keontae George, and Scott Drew, he said, I need an explanation here.
So it wasn't Vanderplas. Maybe on the steal, George reaches back in. Let's take a look now. So there's the deflection. There's the ball.
The left arm, if you see George.
This is an unfortunate situation. I don't know. He extends the arm, which is why Ray Natilli called it. And he's got it as a flagrant one. I think it's a reaction by George to getting it stolen, and he just extends the arm. Was it excessive? Probably. No legitimate play on the ball, understandable, but a bad break for Keontae George. Let's put it that way. Don't disagree with the call. It just happened so quickly that you had to call the extension of the arm.
So after the flagrant, Virginia now trails by 3, 45.3 to play here in this first half. Kihei Clark, the graduate student, hands off to Beekman, driving, caught in the air. Clark, mid-range jumper, short. Rebound goes to Baylor. About a 1 second differential between shot clock and game clock.
Right guy has the ball. We're either going to get a ball screen or what we call a ghost screen, which is run up like you're screening it and then disappear. Remember, no 5 count anymore. One of those bigs is coming.
Now the shot clock is still on. Shot clock's at 4.
There's the ghost.
Gotta go.
Nope.
And they don't get it off. Cryer's shot is no good. Baylor will take a 3-point lead into the locker room at the half.
They have to go to the scorer's table first, John, to make sure. Let's make sure that even though the shot clock violation occurred, was there any time on the game clock?
So there is a differential between shot clock and game clock.
Yep, you'll see. Point 3 or point 2.
He did not get the shot off, so there is still time on the game clock.
And it has to be that way because there was the mismatch between the game and the shot clock anyway. I'd say point 2, but really who cares? The reason it does matter is because with point 3, you can actually throw it down the floor, catch and shoot it. Point 2, it has to be a tip.
So it's at 0.
Well, 0 on the shot clock, but see the game clock, point 5?
Right.
That's probably where it's going to go. Now, why is that important? Because Virginia can now catch and shoot it if they catch it cleanly.
All right, if you're in the Virginia huddle, you now know you have time on the clock. What are you drawing up here at the end of the half?
First thing you do is you have a timeout. So you're going to use it or lose it. The second thing you're going to do, well, I don't know why that is.
Wow.
I'm surprised, but we're going to halftime.
Let's send it into the studio with the guys. Kevin Connors take it away. Baylor with a 3-point lead over Virginia.
Yeah, and
welcome back to the Continental Tire main event as part of Feast Week presented by Lowe's. We are in Las Vegas, Nevada this weekend for the monster matchup. This is the first half of our first game. Number 5 Baylor with a 3-point lead over number 16 Virginia. What's up, everybody? Welcome back here inside T-Mobile Arena alongside my partner. He's Fran Fraschilla. I'm John Triffin. All right, so we talked about in that first half, Virginia. They got everyone to play at their pace.
Yes.
They only trailed by 3 in this first half.
Yeah, it was actually a well-played first half. Low turnovers, team shooting around 50%. Baylor's got 7 threes, Virginia only 1. They're getting it done inside, but they definitely have slowed down those Baylor guards, even though, you know, Flagler and Cryer have been pretty good.
Cryer's been really good. Baylor has actually knocked down their last 5 of 6 from deep after starting just 2 of 11.
Yeah, good ball movement. You know, you expect Flagler and Cryer to make shots. There's Adam coming off a screen. And again, well played, but slow tempo. Cryer from deep, knocking it down. And the guy I really was impressed with for Virginia, Armaan Franklin, second-year transfer from Indiana, showing some athleticism, spin move in the open court. And John, no surprise. I mean, Baylor's obviously more ranked, highly ranked, but this Virginia team with everybody returning, 91% of their scoring, they look like a Sweet 16 team to me, which is what we've talked about tonight.
Cryer led the way for Baylor in that first half, 13 points, 3 of 5 from deep. Franklin led the way for Virginia with 8. Biggest adjustment you see both teams coming out with here in this?
I think Baylor's got to figure out the pick and roll coverage with the bigs hedging. And right there you saw Virginia did not hedge hard there. So maybe they're going to make some adjustments too. And for Virginia, get out and try to get some easy baskets in transition.
So as Thamba rolled to the lane, they're going to call a reach and hold on Jaden Gardner. That is his second personal.
And, you know, we keep mentioning this, and it's really true. It'll be true in the second game. None of these teams have played weekend.
Flagler short on his first 3. Shedrick tipped it to his teammate. Virginia comes away.
Boy, Shedrick is so active on both ends with his athleticism and length.
Armaan Franklin missing his first shot here in the second half, and ball goes over to Baylor.
Now remember, Baylor has got 3 guys with 2 fouls. We didn't see much of Bridges. Thamba's got 2. Keontae George has got 2.
And after Thamba got his second personal foul, he couldn't be as active as he wanted to be defensively towards the later part of that first half. Here's George rising up short on his 3.
Well, Bridges
One
needed,
and done for Baylor.
yeah, Bridges needed to go to the floor right there. That ball fell right into his hands, but he just got outworked, and that can't happen. If you're Scott Drew's not going to be happy about that play.
Clark drives baseline, kickoff into the corner. And Franklin nails the 3, screaming at his bench.
He's been knocking that 3 ball down all season. Came in tonight, 6 of 11. Great pass by Kihei Clark. We call that baseline drive, baseline drift to the corner. Well done.
How big was it for Virginia to get Kihei Clark to come back for his 5th year?
Leadership, that's where it starts. Great leadership. Tough shot right there, but a tough shot maker.
Keontae George gives Baylor the 2-point lead.
Sounds crazy, John, but NBA scouts that are here to watch him, they've seen 4 or 5 plays from him tonight that just makes them think he's going to be fine.
Clark has some space. Back-to-back 3s for Virginia.
This is going to be a fun 18 minutes.
Virginia fans on their feet here. T-Mobile tipped away. Cavaliers on the breakout. Beekman, he will be fouled by Flagler. Virginia starting to knock down their open looks.
Great ball movement. It was Clark first. This time Beekman across the court. Little flare screen by the big man Shedrick and Kihei Clark. 5th year. Remember, this kid played in the Final Four. You got 2 guys, 2 guards right now. Flagler and Clark, who have national championships. So the winning pedigree, John, is here in this building.
Timeout on the floor. Virginia with a 1-point lead.
Women's NCAA champions. 2 great coaches, Tara Vanderveer, Dawn Staley. Some great players, great culture in those programs.
How about this matchup we have on the floor? We're looking at 2 of the last 3 national champions as Clark gets open on the inbound.
That's the 2nd time tonight they've fooled Baylor with an inbounds play. Really well done.
Flagler trying to go to work, trying to break down the D. Another steal, this time by Franklin, and he is fouled by Dale Bonner. That's going to be an intentional foul as Franklin had a free pass to the bucket.
Armaan Franklin has been more disruptive tonight than Darrell Rivas. He is all over the, watch him run the passing lane right here. And then Bonner just reaches out and grabs. And by rule, that's going to be a flagrant 1. But Franklin's shooting and his athleticism on the defensive end has been a big reason why Virginia's got this lead.
It was a surprise for this Virginia team to go to the NIT last season, but it was Franklin who emerged in that NIT. Quality minutes, quality performance, and now you're seeing it carry over here.
You know what he's thinking? I'm not going back to the NIT this year. Yeah, I might have emerged. I don't want to emerge next year in the NIT.
This is Virginia's largest lead of the game, up by 5 in the middle of a 7-0 run.
Oh, good slip.
Gardner double teamed inside, picks up his dribble.
Nice job by Gardner. They had to switch, and the little guy was on him.
See, Baylor wants to speed things up, but Virginia has great transition D.
The DNA of this Virginia program is built on that end for sure. Nice roll.
This is Launder, a free pass to the bucket, and he lays it in.
John, that's the first time I can remember tonight that hard hedge and pick and roll. Thamba opened up early to look for the ball. We call that a short roll. He's not used to doing that at his size, but that's a way to combat that aggressive pick and roll coverage.
Clark in the lane. Might have had a layup, decides to pass it off instead. Beekman ripping down the net from 3.
Reason Beekman was open because Baylor thought they had the steal, and when they didn't come up with it, Beekman was left with nobody guarding him.
There's the hedge.
Yep. Baylor does not have a big guy that's good at handling the ball out there.
Thamba hands off to Cryer, lets a hard screen. 8 on the shot clock. Flagler putting it up. Look at the speed burst by Beekman. And Franklin, he'll be fouled on the putback. Virginia bringing their energy here in Las Vegas.
Watch the hustle here. Almost a steal. Beekman wide open. Beekman and Franklin matching toe-to-toe with those Baylor guards.
All right, Kevin, appreciate that. So Indiana with a big win.
Yep.
Let's take a look at the preseason poll in the Big Ten. We're going to highlight the number 2 team because we got Illinois coming up next, taking on UCLA.
Yes, completely different team for Illinois. Kofi Coburn off to Japan. They've lost some good players. Trent Frazier's gone, playing well overseas. But Brad Underwood has reloaded. I love those freshman guards. Of course, I know TJ Shannon, Dane Danger, and Matt Meyer from the Big 12. Great additions. We got a great ball game coming up against UCLA.
So Franklin knocks down both free throws for Virginia. They're on a 12-2 run. They've opened up their largest lead of the game, up by 8. How about the play of Franklin? He has really changed the game.
Well, he's so athletic. He's been disruptive on the defensive end.
Shedrick hedging hard again. Pick and roll to try to run it with Thamba. Extra pass in the corner. This is Bonner. That was the possession Baylor wanted.
Yes, but I think L.J. Cryer should have shot that ball instead of passing it to Dale Bonner. No disrespect, Dale, but L.J. Cryer needs to shoot the 3 ball, even though he was trying to be unselfish there.
Full court press broken easily by Virginia. We've played 5 minutes here in the second half. This is the freshman McNeely.
He hasn't got any breathing room tonight because he's such a good shooter.
He was 4 of 6 in their last win against Monmouth from downtown. Armaan Franklin. He has been the headliner here in Vegas.
And a great look by Beekman, throwing that ball cross court.
A 15-2 run by Virginia. Touch foul called on McNeely as Bonner went by him. Let's take a look at that last 3.
Watch the ball movement, John. Here's Beekman. Watch the screen in the other corner. Skips over the top. Too late. We told you Franklin coming into this season, he was inconsistent a year ago as far as his shooting. From the start of the year to now, he's been lights out.
Franklin with 18 points. But he's also getting it done on the defensive end. George, pull-up jumper. That was deflected by Franklin, but it stays here with Baylor.
Baylor has no answer for the pick-and-roll coverage. Because 2 guys are on the ball, you want to get rid of it, but they're getting rid of it to non-ball handlers in Lohner and Thamba.
Bonner curling, but he stepped out of bounds. Turnover.
Baylor right now is trying to make 5- and 6-point plays. They have to get back to guarding and then offensively using 1 possession at a time.
A turnover for the Bears. Bonner can't get the handle. Vanderplas comes away.
Great pass by George, but Bonner dropped it.
There's that man, Franklin, cut off baseline, drops off to Beekman. It is raining threes for Virginia, and Scott Drew wants a timeout.
This was not a great shooting team a year ago. The ball movement exquisite. And when you're open, you knock them down.
Virginia was down by 3 at the half. Over the last 4:20 on the floor, they've gone on an 18-2 run.
Defense has been rock solid, and of course the ball movement, and they're getting timely shooting from guys like Beekman and Franklin.
So Virginia, they delivered a haymaker coming out of the half. What do you do to respond if you're Baylor?
I think you got to go small, spread them out with 4 guards, and make them guard the drive.
George gets by his man. A lot of contact as Shedrick comes away.
They obviously thought that was inadvertent, even though that was what I would call a collision.
They're trying to work the post with Shedrick. There's Franklin. Oh, baby! Armaan Franklin came to play tonight.
Indiana transfer. Part of that NIT team last year. Had some good moments. But tonight is his night. Came in shooting 6 of 11 behind the arc. And he's even hotter than that.
George, the freshman, trying to take over for Baylor. He's running the point. They haven't scored in over 5.5 minutes on the floor.
Good hedge. Look at that big guy move his feet.
Bridges, a contested 3.
No way. Bad shot. And Keontae George, I guarantee you, has never seen defense like this in any high school game.
Virginia, 6 for 7 from beyond the arc this half.
Here comes Franklin.
Franklin has it. He'll reload. And he's fouled. No.
Oh, but got a flop.
They actually called it a flop.
Yep, let's watch this.
This year, it is not a warning automatically.
John, this play has been inconsistently called this year. I didn't see it, so when we watch the replay, I'll give you my thought. Let's watch now. Shot. No way. I'm going to tell you something. He did not flop. You got a guy flying at you. Your instinct is to protect yourself. I do not like that call. Was there minimal contact? Yes. But that kid is in the air. There's some contact, and he has to protect himself. He did not fall down to try to trick the official. I don't like the rule because it's too inconsistent, and they're making these officials to call it. Take a look right here. There's the shot. There's a little bit of a bump, okay? And what's he supposed to do? Stay there like a man and play linebacker? No way. Don't like the rule. It's not the official's fault. It's a bad rule.
Tell me how you really feel.
Hey, trust me, officials don't want to call this, but they can't advance in the NCAA tournament unless it's called.
And now, because it's no more a warning, it goes straight to a Class B technical foul.
Here's the good news. Class B means it's not a personal foul. I just don't like the rule. We used to teach guys how to take charges. Can't do that anymore. That kid's in the air coming down. Even if it's minimal contact, you have to protect him.
Vanderplas letting it fly from deep. Everyone's getting in on the 3-ball party.
He is going to be a great addition off the bench. 4 years of college experience in a winning program at Ohio U.
Klagler, inside pass. And Cafaro is going to be called with the push underneath. Take a look at that last 3 by Ben Vanderplas. It is raining threes in Las Vegas for Virginia. Armaan Franklin for Virginia, the only starter in double figures. He's got 21.
You know what, John? This guy's obviously worked on his shooting because he was a career 32% shooter. Now, we knew the athleticism was there. High school star out of Indianapolis, played in Indiana. But it's apparent, maybe it's a small sample size, but I don't think so. This kid is shooting the rock at a level that's going to make this team very dangerous. And what you'll love about him is there's no hesitation. He's playing with extreme confidence, and he's getting it done on both ends, which is a great sign for a team that does not want to go to the NIT this season.
And how about the efficiency? You scored 21 points on 7-11 from the floor.
No question, no question. Now, you know, there'll be fans that say, oh, you don't think he's a good shooter. Hey, all I know is 32% over your career is not great, but he's obviously put the work in all summer, which is what you love as a coach. Baylor needs a massive comeback, and it's going to be hard against a defense like this.
Baylor just 2 of 9 from the floor in this second half. Make that 2 for 10 off another miss.
Tough shots. Every single shot tonight seems like it's been contested with a hand up.
There's a steal.
Got to pass it.
Bridges, a late pass, and it's going to go over to Virginia.
Vision. My big thing this year with playmakers is, do you have vision? That was a 3-on-1 that should have been kicked ahead, and Bridges kept the ball in his hands, and he allowed the defender to get back into play. We're going to see some vision tonight in the second game from Tiger Campbell at UCLA. One of my favorite point guards in the country.
And the other thing, this Baylor press has not affected Virginia bringing up the ball at any point tonight.
Well, you got K.A. Clark, right? You think he's played in big games?
10 on the shot clock for the Cavaliers. There is Clark in the corner, pump fake.
Somebody's open.
An open man in the corner. Ryan Dunn. How many Virginia players can knock down a 3 tonight and the foul?
We haven't talked about Dunn, but Virginia fans are going to love this kid from Long Island, New York. The comparison's been made to DeAndre Hunter, which is probably apt. Take a look, confidence. And listen, John, you know this. When one guy starts making them, your teammates start to think, I can make them too. The ball movement is great.
And now Virginia, they're just out hustling Baylor. Dunn on the floor, calls the timeout. Virginia opening up a 21-point lead. This is something.
The last time that Baylor probably got themselves in this situation was the COVID year at Kansas late in the season. You don't see a Baylor team down 21 with 10 minutes to go. But it's all Virginia and Tony Bennett's defense and offense.
How about a little college football? Our Statement Saturday college football lineup is jam-packed, highlighted by number 3 Michigan hosting Illinois at the Big House at noon Eastern. Then, second-ranked Ohio State takes on Maryland on ABC, plus number 9 Clemson hosts Miami in Death Valley. And then we got Hendon Hooker leading number 5 Tennessee against South Carolina on ESPN. These games have some college football playoff conference championships implications on the line. They're also available on the ESPN app, so you can watch it from anywhere.
I think you got 2 guys in those games that are going to be in New York, John, for the Heisman final for the award, and that would be Blake Corum, who's having a monster year for Michigan. Of course, Hendon Hooker, who's throwing that ball all over the line.
So out of the timeout, Virginia with a 21-point lead.
This is impressive, man. If you're a Virginia fan, that NIT had to not sit well with you last year. Losing to St. Bonaventure in the quarterfinals. High-low.
They go inside to the big man, but a shot clock violation. Cafaro did not get it off in time. You can see the 7'1" guy out of Argentino, Cafaro. He's going to make more of an impact this year for Virginia.
What I like about this team is they got 4 guys that can play inside, right? Cafaro, Shedrick, Gardner, Vanderplas. They've got a lot of different weapons on that front line.
Cryer left alone, and he knocks down another 3. Maybe that's what Baylor needs to get them going. For Cryer, that is his 4th 3 of the night.
Baylor's not going to press full court, but they have to speed Virginia up because they need a lot of possessions to get back in this ball game.
Well, look at the lineup last year for Virginia. They really only went 6 or 7 deep. This year, they've got 10 legit guys who can give them minutes. Vanderplas, that's a deep 2, rattles in.
Piece of cake. He is a good fit off the bench. Very experienced.
Vanderplas off the bench. He's got 12 points for Virginia. And a foul away from the ball.
Tony Bennett. I think of these two coaches, Scott Drew, Tony Bennett, their dads. Dick Bennett should be, John. In my opinion, Dick Bennett is one of the 5 most consequential coaches in the last 50 years of basketball. What do I mean by that? The defense, the pack line, the on the line, up the line. He's one of the few coaches who changed his philosophy in mid-career. Tony learned from him, the motion offense, blocker, mover. Dick Bennett is a legend. He's home watching in Wisconsin tonight, proud of his son's team's effort.
So Keontae George goes to the line to try to convert a 3-point play. And he does. George now has 11 points on the night. Cryer leads the way for Baylor with 15. It's really been George, Cryer, and Flagler. That's the offense for Baylor.
There's the press. Can they turn Virginia over? So far, they haven't been able to, so they're going to have to get it done with half-court stops.
Clark with the Euro on the extra pass. Vanderplas, another head fake, left alone.
If you're Baylor, you've got to play fast.
There's a quick 3. Bonner nails it. The BYU transfer, and all of a sudden, Baylor looking like they have some life here in the second half.
You got to throw caution to the wind, and you have to play quicker and take the first good shot. And if it's a 3, that's even better.
Beekman, offensive foul. The freshman Keontae George takes the charge.
We told you George does some dirty work along with scoring. Good example right there. Take a look. There's the drive. He's outside the lane. He's legal. And now Baylor's got to figure out a way to play quickly and maximize possessions.
It's going to be Cryer, George, and Bonner running the outside. The guards on the floor
Nice.
for Baylor. Up top!
Nice.
Lauder throwing it down. Baylor, an 8-0 run, trying to get back into the ball game.
John, in the pick and roll, they didn't use the screen, so there was no hedge. Why? Because they created a driving lane for George, and he lobs it to Lohner. Excellent execution.
If they have your personal information, anyone can be you. Spectrum One keeps your personal data safe and private. That's privacy protection. That's Spectrum One.
When you're hit by a motor vehicle, there's nobody that tells you that there's most likely going to be $1 billion insurance company protecting the driver that just hit you. It's a mistake to play in traffic, just like it's a mistake to go against an auto insurance company all alone. When you get into a car crash, don't fight the $1 billion auto insurance companies alone. If you've been injured in a car crash, call Martinez and Associates today at 210-337-1111.
Virginia up 62-48, but Baylor coming back into the game here in the second half.
And John, how do you defeat a pick and roll coverage? Don't use the screen. He rejects the screen right here, right? So there's no hard hedge. What does he do? Gets downhill, sets up the lob, really done. That's a good adjustment by Baylor right there. And then again, even in bits and pieces, John, you're seeing how versatile this kid is. Keontae George, the hustle, the charges, the passes, the scoring, and it's going to be a good one all season long for Baylor.
Well, Adam Flagler, clearly the leader coming into this game, but under the bright lights, Keontae George has really stepped up. And you can see he takes pride in getting his other teammates involved.
I'm impressed because he was such a good scorer in high school. Montverde Academy, obviously playing for Kevin Boyle. I'm impressed with his all-around game. Now here's the diamond press, 1-2-1-1. Let's see if they can speed Virginia up and create more possessions.
Kihei Clark, he has been steady the entire game. Gardner on the pick and roll, a free lane to the bucket.
The defender fell down, and Baylor played 4 versus 5, and that's not good. Here it is again.
This time George takes the screen and the bump and will earn a trip to the free throw line.
Well, because he did not use the screen that previous time, the defender was late showing on the ball screen, and he took it right down the lane.
Keontae George, the freshman, 6'4" out of Louisville, Texas, will go to the line to shoot 2. Sunday, we got the men's basketball game of the day. It's the first ever meeting between number 4 Kentucky and number 2 Gonzaga, who agreed to a 6-year series in August. Now, last season's National Player of the Year, Oscar Tshiebwe, should be back for this one to lead the Wildcats against Drew Timme and the Bulldogs Spokane. Coverage begins 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on ESPN and the app.
Both teams, John, coming off losses. Baylor, Gonzaga embarrassed. There's a violation.
So Baylor forces the turnover. They get the ball back down by 14. And for Caden Shedrick, that was his 3rd personal foul.
One thing Baylor has in their favor is they have scoring punch. If you can free George, if you can free Flagler, Cryer when they're out there.
There's George trying to go to work, guarded by Franklin. He'll pull up with 2 hands in his face. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
Keontae George with the huge knockdown.
Look at
He's
this.
got 16. A steal for George. And an offensive foul as Clark takes the charge, and George can't believe
I
it.
think it's a good call. Keontae needed to make one more pass. The steal was terrific. Kihei Clark was waiting on the baseline for him. Now, this kid's got a lot of confidence. That was a time where he needed to give it up. Good pressure by Baylor.
Beekman will get it across half court. You can feel like this game has just shifted, but Baylor has all the momentum right now.
Just hope they have enough time.
11-point lead for Virginia. Shedrick met at the rim by Lohner, and Shedrick is down.
Intentional, that's an intentional foul, flagrant 1. They're going to go to the monitor. We'll take a look at this. Now, remember, flagrant 1 is excessive. Flagrant 2, severe and extreme. This borders on either a common foul or a flagrant 1. Official was clear right away. Let's watch. Here comes Lohner. That's a flagrant 1. John, it's excessive. It is. All he needed to do was stay vertical.
He went right at the ball.
John, he followed through. I'm just telling you. Now they can downgrade this, but by rule that's excessive.
He hits the ball first.
John, he
and
hit
then
him on the head.
follows through and hits him on the
You
head.
may be right. I don't know. I think I read the rule book, but you may very well be right. To me, that's excessive. In the old days, that's a foul. In the Big East, that's not even a foul in the old days. Now, they can downgrade this. They can, and they might. But if it's me, it's excessive. It's simple.
Now, Lohner clearly was making a play on the ball. He did follow through and make hard contact on Shedrick. Let's see what the officials decide here. After talking it over, they're going to talk to both head coaches.
Yep.
Will stay as a flagrant 1.
You know, to me, it's a good call. I mean, it's a hustle play by Lohner, but what he's got to learn right there is foul him, don't follow through.
Correct.
He got the ball first, John, which is a great play. But then he, you know, again, he's exuberant. He's trying to make a play for his team. I'm okay with that call.
So Shedrick knocks down both free throws after the flagrant one on Baylor.
Yes, and the problem is, for Baylor, Virginia keeps the basketball. And again, my point is, do they have enough possessions, the Bears, to get back in this game?
A 13-point lead. And Virginia, they're going to use all of this shot clock. Gardner inside on the block, going to work. He is fouled, and it rolls off the rim. Jaden Gardner, from the first possession of the game, Virginia has trying to get him established, getting him a part of this offense.
There's a good reason. You know what it is? Baylor switching inside. So when there's a guard on him like he just had, remember we asked Tony Bennett today, what are you going to do about switching? He said, every time we get a mismatch, which they did there, Mitch, we're going inside. Their game plan tonight has been outstanding, both ends of the floor.
Don't forget, coming up next, Illinois will take on UCLA. It'll be over on ESPNU. Thamba, the handoff to Cryer, back to Thamba! Two-handed jam. Here's the press by the Bears. Can they come away with a steal?
Three good ball handlers for Virginia, all experienced. And Clark, fifth year, he's been in these kind of situations before.
Too much contact as Lohner called for the reach-in. Excuse me, was that on George? Yep, that was on George, so that is his fourth personal foul. Sunday, we got a women's basketball game of the day. Aaliyah Boston and #1 South Carolina take on Haley Jones. Cameron Brink and the #2 Stanford at Maples Pavilion.
Scott Drew is trying to get Keontae George out with those 4 fouls, but the missed free throw keeps him in the game.
6 minutes to play here in Las Vegas. Virginia trailed by 3 at the half. Here's George splitting the defense, passing the corner to Flagler, and Baylor's offense has come alive.
Keontae George, I'm telling you, I've seen enough. He split that hedge like a 5-year NBA veteran and then kicked it out. That was beautiful basketball.
10-point ball game.
Remember that NCAA tournament game against North Carolina? That's an offensive foul they just missed.
Shedrick passes it off to Franklin. And they're going to call a foul inside. A push-off on the rebound.
John, watch this. Watch him defeat the hard hedge on defense. You talk about a kid that knows how to play. Right through the defense. Great kick out. Coaching staff told us how impressed they were with this kid's passing.
So Gardner gets a breather as Vanderplas comes back into the game, and Keontae George will also get a rest for Baylor as Dale Bonner comes back in. Now we're going to get to the promo for Sunday women's basketball game of the day. Aaliyah Boston, #1 South Carolina, take on Haley Jones. Cameron Brink and #2 Stanford. Coverage begins at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on ABC and the ESPN app. 1 versus 2.
Yep, Stanford's won 6 of the 8 all-time meetings, but obviously some of that was before Dawn Staley turned the program around. Free throws coming up. You don't want to do that.
A foul away from the ball, and the Baylor fans are saying, thank you. It's about time. We've been getting held all night.
I think generally tonight this crew's done a good job. A couple calls I disagree with. The flop, obviously.
So 1-1 for Bonner. And he makes the first. Virginia, their largest lead here in the second half was 21. Baylor has now cut it to 10.
John, the difference in this game has been three-point shooting. We talked about Virginia, 1-3 in the first half. They went nuts in the second half. They're not going to shoot that way all season, obviously, but it's given them enough of a cushion to put Baylor back on their heels.
Now the lead is back to single digits. 5:11 to play. Virginia easily breaking the press as Beekman will back it out.
Both teams in the bonus. The jump ball will go to Baylor.
Clark blows by the big man. Look at Virginia. Calmly, they reset the offense. Beekman knifing through short. Shedrick can't keep it alive. Baylor comes away with it.
Guess what? They're only 3 threes away from tying it. And they're capable.
Cryer double teamed. Thamba picked pocket. Caden Shedrick with the steal.
He tried to keep it because of the pressure on those ball screens and handoffs, and Flo just made a poor decision there. Wasted possession.
Franklin! And Warner says, you're not dunking on me tonight.
But he was a little more judicious, Caleb Lohner, that time. Take a look right here. Just a good hard foul. Isn't it great they don't call those technical fouls anymore for guys hanging on the rim?
Franklin leading all scorers. He's got 23 points tonight as Keontae George checks back in for Baylor. Flagler will run the show for the Bears.
This first time tonight they're going 4 out. There's going to be a lot of one-on-one down the stretch. No high ball screens from the bigs usually.
Tipped away by Shedrick. Look at the active hands for the big man for Virginia.
Yep.
Virginia with an 11-point lead under 4 minutes to play here in Las Vegas. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Lowe's. It's the best place to get everything you need for the holidays.
Hey man, are you Alpocalypse 423?
Yeah.
What's the deal? You got me running all over the place day and night.
Oh, I have Spectrum now. Fastest Wi-Fi speeds around.
Oh, that's cool. How about we just pump the brakes though, now and again? This thing's like 2,000 pounds. You want to hold it?
Yes, I do.
Well, you can't, because it'll rip your arms right out of your body. And then how are you going to play your game?
I'm sorry, it's just really, really fast.
What if I just split your house in half with my Warhammer?
It still works out here, so.
It's pointless.
Spectrum One delivers the fastest Wi-Fi speeds in the nation. That's game-changing speed. That's Spectrum One.
When you're hit by a motor vehicle, there's nobody that tells you that there's most likely going to be $1 billion insurance company protecting the driver that just hit you. It's a mistake to play in traffic, just like it's a mistake to go against an auto insurance company all alone.
That one, Kevin, thank you so much. John Shrippen alongside my partner, Fran Fraschilla. Virginia led by 21 in this second half. Baylor has cut it to 11. Take a look at this field here in the Continental Tire main event. This is our first game. The next game coming up will be Illinois UCLA. The winner of this game will take on the winner of the next one in the championship game, which will be played on Sunday. The consolation game played after that on Sunday as well.
This is, we said it early, as good a field as any in Feast Week. Any of these teams with some breaks could get to a Final Four this year. I'd be surprised if all 4 are not in a Sweet 16.
That's just how good this tournament is.
Yeah. Of course, Virginia's been really impressive tonight.
Bonner finds George, baseline. He is blocked but fouled. Shedrick didn't like the call, but George will go to the free throw line.
You see Armaan Franklin telling Shedrick to stay vertical on that. You don't have to jump. Make him score over you. And John, this kid's had about 7 or 8 plays tonight on both ends of the floor, Keontae George. But you can see why people really love his future potential.
You know, traditionally, too, when you see scorers, especially at the level of Keontae George, we see them forcing it a lot, right? Taking bad shots. George has been very patient all night long. That's what's impressed me the most.
He's been that way since the start of his career 4 games ago. There's no question. He's shown great versatility, great maturity.
He knocks them both down, cuts the lead back to 9 under 4 minutes to play in this 4th quarter. Excuse me, in the 2nd half.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but it seems like they were down almost 30 against North Carolina in the NCAA tournament. Took that game to overtime. So they just need some stops, and they need some mistakes by Virginia. Virginia 8 of 12 from 3 in the 2nd half.
Inside to Shedrick at the rim, finishes.
They have carved up the Baylor switching. Why are those big guys being guarded by guards? Because Baylor has free switched and Virginia has just sliced and diced.
Tipped out of bounds. It will stay at Baylor. Shedrick, a perfect 5 of 5 from the floor. He's got 13.
You'll see right here, screen, slip to the basket, 2 on 1, 1 on 2. Somebody's open at the rim, and they've really confused Baylor tonight. See how late Lohner was?
George, double team, puts it up. A tough shot in the face of Beekman. Here's the press from Baylor. Tipped away. And a timeout called by Kihei Clark.
That Tony Bennett will get a fresh 10-second count to inbound this ball. So at 25, they've got to get it over by 15. He'll have a full 10 seconds to inbound this ball and get it over midcourt.
That last bucket by Keontae George, I mean, I've been impressed all night. He took it to another level with this one.
I get to watch him all season long in the Big 12. I'm going to enjoy myself because this kid has special talent. Johnny scores like he breathes. He really does. And this is not an accident, these shots. It's what he's done his whole career. He played at a great place, Montverde, with Kevin Boyle, who's produced Embiid and Simmons and R.J. Barrett, Nembhard, you name it, they played there. Scotty Barnes, Kate Cunningham, he's the next.
And he's doing this with 4 personal fouls, still being aggressive on the offensive end while staying on the floor.
Yes, and when you're down 9, you have to stay aggressive. No, can't worry about fouling out right now. I just love his poise.
If you're Virginia, you've been affected now by this full court press by Baylor. What are you drawing up out of this timeout to get the ball across half court?
Well, you've got enough ball handlers that once it comes in bounds, you have to give the trapped man 3 outlets and a long diagonal. Every press offense is the same, no matter where it is on the court. So you give the ball handler 3 outlets, and he's got to pick and choose who's open. Something you practice every day of the season.
So Beekman will inbound for Virginia.
Here goes the long
pass. Shedrick is open, throws it up, and he is fouled.
Perfect. When you know the team is going to put 5 in the backcourt, you just send a guy long, and they did it, and that relieves the pressure. Excellent out of timeout play by Tony Bennett. Your defensive team gets excited for the steal, the trap, but before that happens, they release a guy long. Really well done.
You know, we talked about it earlier, just the tough week it's been for Virginia, dealing with the tragedy. How about this response by these young men?
Yes.
Flying out here to Las Vegas, dealing with everything. Coach Tony Bennett rallying his guys and coming out with this type of a performance.
Scott Drew told us yesterday in the hotel, I worry about how ready Virginia will be. Trey Murphy who's now in his second year with the Pelicans, had his 2 best games of the season this week because he dedicated those games to his
Here's
past
Shedrick with a steal, all alone. It's showtime! That 3 will roll in for Flagler.
Still got to keep the press on if you're Baylor and hope for some mistakes.
Close to a 5 seconds. No, that was a 5-second.
We need you to come to the ball.
Baylor forces the turnover, down by 10, 2:18 to play.
Unless you get an easy layup, you got to shoot a 3 and throw caution to the wind.
Curling, that's a 2. It'll go for Cryer.
Keep the press on.
Baylor, they're starting to gamble now. They need a turnover as we approach 2 minutes to play here in this second half.
Baylor fans wanted to travel. It was close.
Beekman with the blow by, and he'll be fouled.
That might be Keontae's 5th.
It was on Keontae George. And for the star freshman, that'll be his 5th personal. His night is done. But if you're George, nothing to hang your head about. He left it all out on the court tonight.
That's what Scott Drew's telling him right now. John, this was a well-coached game by both coaches. The difference in this game tonight was the shooting in the second half. First 10 minutes, Virginia came out on fire. Now, they're not going to shoot 8 of 12 the rest of the season, but it doesn't matter. Every now and then you have a game like this against a good opponent, and you knock them out. To this point, they've knocked Baylor out.
Lohner, hard dribble, and he'll be fouled. A push off on Shedrick. So Caleb Lohner will go to the free throw line. And for Shedrick, that is his 4th personal.
We were talking to Tony Bennett today. Most teams in the Big 12 either switch pick and roll or they play drop, which means the big guy plays back. Tony Bennett has always hard hedge pick and rolls, and you can see how much trouble it gave a guard-oriented team tonight.
Lohner knocks down both. Cuts the lead back to 8. Outlet passes to Franklin. Virginia will pull it back and run the clock. Baylor starting to gamble, tipped away. But possession stays with Virginia. At what point do you have to start thinking about fouling?
About 1:31 in the game, and you're down 8 because possessions matter more than putting them on the foul line. You have to hope that they miss some free throws. And obviously they're going to play this possession out because it's a low shot clock.
Contact there, tipped out of bounds. They say off the head of Beekman, so Baylor gets the turnover.
Got to play fast. If you can get to the basket, get an easy 2, great. Now, under 2 minutes, they can go to the monitor and check to see who touched the ball last, which is what they're going to do right now.
Now, Bert Smith was underneath, had the best look at it. He said it was off Virginia. But the officials now under 2 minutes will review, go to the monitor just to make sure.
Keep in mind, if this call is overturned, Virginia will have 6 on the shot clock. There's the drive. And it looks like Virginia, he pushed the ball out of his hands, Beekman. Let's watch. Watch Beekman's right hand. Looks like he loses it.
That's Flagler coming over the top, makes the initial block, and then Beekman pushes it out of bounds.
It looks that way. Certainly to us, it looks that way. See, you watch Flagler gets the ball. I think it's going to be Baylor ball.
Yeah. All right, so if it stays here with Baylor, 1:23 on the clock, the officials do confirm off the head of Beekman.
Well,
How quick of a shot do you need here?
Fast. Now, what you got to do is, if you can go all the way to the basket, get an easy 2 because Virginia doesn't want to foul, great. Take it, you're down 6 with 1:15. If you're coming down quick and you can run something to get an open 3, that's good too. But Virginia knows that Baylor needs to shoot a 3, so let's watch.
Virginia big man there crowding the three-point
Yep.
line. Bridges going into the post. Get out of here. Shedrick with the block.
This is where this kid really has improved. He is a rim protector because of that length. There's the drive. Little contact. Could have been an offensive foul. That's that defense we talked about.
Bonner penetrating. There's the layup. And Baylor with a minute to play, down by 6.
Every foul now is going to be 2 free throws. I think you got to pick somebody out to foul. They're going to get
Flagler
Vanderplas.
does give up the foul on Vanderplas, who will go to the free throw line. Now Baylor was upset because after that main bucket, the clock continued to run and Virginia was in no time to get that ball in bounds.
If that was under a minute, it should have stopped.
It should have stopped. The
Yes.
clock kept running.
Does anybody know that? It doesn't seem like anybody but us, but I didn't see it. Now this kid, career 68% from the line. He is shooting 2 and he does play with poise. Yep. Remember, his dad played for Dick Bennett at Green Bay. He didn't know Tony well, but he is a great fit for this team.
Vanderplas coolly knocks down both. 8-point ball game.
There's those bigs out there on those ball screens.
Flagler splitting the D, finds the three-point line, lets it fly. No good. Franklin with the board, and he is fouled.
Well, it's a broken record, John, but Virginia's big men, for the most part, stymied the guard-oriented Baylor offense. Pick and roll coverage, exquisite tonight. We didn't see much of Langston Love tonight, young man who's going to be a terrific player coming off knee injury. Baylor's team, from what I see tonight, they're going to have to play 4 guards a lot. And right on cue, here comes the young man from Universal City, Texas, who has a very bright future, coming off ACL surgery last November. You know, Tony Bennett's got 5 ACC titles in 6 years, from 13 to 19. I know how good North Carolina is, and we obviously Duke's got those great freshmen. This team will be back to competing at the top of the ACC. They've got experience, they got depth, they're shooting it. Their defense is outstanding. They've got a future Hall of Fame coach. By the way, we got 2 future Hall of Fame coaches.
All right, so here's what the officials are looking at.
Yep.
Take a look at this rebound underneath.
Well, they're looking.
Did Franklin clip Bonner on the rebound?
They're looking for a hook and hold. I don't think so. You know, that's a big rule change right here. Oh, I mean, that looks like a common foul to me.
So you're going to keep it as a common foul. Baylor coming out of the huddle.
Hey,
Finds himself down by 8.
And by the way, officials have been good tonight at the monitor.
They have been good.
Quick. Take a look. Nothing. Play on. Good crew tonight. You know, I got upset about the flop call, but it's not their fault. It's the only major rule change in college basketball this year that there is no warning, and they've been too over to use a line from the great Marv Levy. They've been too over officious this season. on that particular call.
Now, if you're Baylor, this could be, if this score holds, your first loss of the season.
Yeah.
No sense to overreact. This is what Scott Drew wanted. He wanted to figure out where his team was at.
The difference in this game was the three-point shooting the first 8 minutes. If Virginia doesn't get red hot, this game is a barn burner.
Flagler, no call. Lohner with the putback, lead back to 8.
Yeah, there'll be no overreaction.
Shot clock is turned off as Cryer commits the foul and sending Beekman back to the line.
You know, there was talk that Kihei Clark would not come back and move on. Beekman would have been the full-time point guard. Armaan Franklin would move to the 2, but when you have 2 quality point guards in Beekman and Kihei Clark, it really gives both of them a chance to catch their breath and stay in the game, because neither one of them has to handle the ball now for 40 minutes.
Virginia was down by 3 at the half. They used a huge run coming out of the locker room to open up a 21-point lead. Baylor came back as Cryer nails the floater, but Virginia never let up. They commit another foul, sending Franklin back to the line. As a reminder, this is just game 1 here in this semifinal, the Continental Tire main event. Coming up next on ESPNU, we will have Illinois taking on UCLA. The winner of that game will take on the winner of this game Sunday, and both losers will play each other in the consolation game on Sunday as well.
Well, no matter who we have Sunday in either game, we're going to have 2 great games. We're going to have an NCAA Sweet 16 type of game. I would say this about this young man at the line. I talked to Virginia people during the preseason. They said he's the key to the season. He's the X factor. If he plays the way he's capable, we're going to be good. He played tonight the way he's capable.
Flagler, final seconds ticking off. A foul is called on Shedrick. That'll be his 5th personal foul. But to continue on, Armaan Franklin. 26 points tonight, 7 of 12 from the floor.
And as you know, John, that's a career high. He dropped 23 3 different times at Indiana. But tonight, special night for him against a quality opponent. And by the way, quality guards.
Bridges, that is his first point of the ball game.
Transfer from West Virginia. You don't see that happen very often in conference. He was in witness protection tonight.
8 seconds left here in Las Vegas. Virginia inbound. Baylor will not foul. 3 seconds to play here from T-Mobile. Virginia fans rising to their feet, and that'll do it. Number 16, Virginia, comes all the way back. A 86-79 win over Baylor. It was the 3-point shooting in the second half that did it for the Cavaliers.
Absolutely. Great ball movement, timely shooting against a good opponent. And Tony Bennett's going to be really pleased with his team's effort tonight. Remember, both of these teams playing great